Bob Krause, and I'm president of the Veterans National Recovery Center. And I'm here today with Wendy Hoffman, and she's an exceptional woman who has created, with many other volunteers, the Veterans Art Center in Grand Junction, Colorado. And this is a very unique art center dedicated to healing veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, TBI. And they do it not because of their particular condition, but because they love art and the connections it makes within their brain to help them heal. Wendy, could you take us in and show us what's going on here?
I would love to.
And here, we're just walking in the door, Wendy. Can you tell me what we have here?
In the first thing you're going to run into, and we're just getting it built, is a museum we're having of some military history, because we have a lot of the veterans and families of veterans that bring in paraphernalia, so we're setting up. And then we have a lot of the artwork and the different things that are made here at the center. So we have a gift shop with several items available that are made here.
Now, is this the only place you sell stuff, Wendy, or do you have other places?
We have the gallery in the next room, and then we also go out to different events and farmers markets and everything else.
But you get enough sales to help underwrite the operation.
It helps. And with any of the artists, a lot of them just donate their things, but a lot of them that do sell it on consignment, they get 80% back.
Yeah.
So
and they need the money.
We help them.
Yeah.
Sell
So
their
this
artwork.
it can occasionally be a supplement to a veteran's pension of some kind.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're not really selling it because art is about the artist and the story, not the art.
That's true.
And so we found that if we take them out to the different events, whether it's to a downtown gallery or whether it's to the Palisade Farmers Market, and have them there and they engage, that not only do their sales improve, but their whole confidence levels and everything improve.
That's
by them
true.
being able to sit and talk about their art or why they did it or how they did it.
Veterans often have troubles reacting and relating and talking about their experiences, and I suppose this is an avenue for many veterans.
Yeah.
So they can
To be able to
learn
sit.
to open up and reconnect with society. So,
And they made the art, and if they sit and talk about the experiences they had making the art, that we've watched confidence levels just soar while we're doing
that's
that.
so wonderful. That's so wonderful. Lisa Olson. Okay. And you're from Texas, and you know
Home
about
is
you.
here now
Home
in
is
the
in-
valley, and I
yeah.
wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
It's the best place you could ever run out of gas. So I mean, I wouldn't trade it. So
And this is your business center here for operations.
This is actually for the use of all the veterans for copying and working with art and all sorts of
Okay, so this
use.
is open. So
This
open,
is
no charge.
open and no charge for faxing or making copies or printing. It's connected to all of the printers.
Okay.
And this is Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, who are you?
I'm Bob Krause, my wife Vicki, and
Dave is the one I was mentioning worked on the online store back when we had Shopify.
oh, okay, yeah.
And
And
he
you were
is
trying to sell
he is a
coins.
veteran. He does our social networking. And he is also an artist.
Okay.
This is our fabric room.
Okay, so you do
And-
quilts and soft.
All the sewing
soft,
machines. We have about 9
okay.
sewing machines, and it is mostly the guys that do the sewing. And so we've got all the fabric room, and the 3-year-old, who is our chief happiness officer, there's his bed. This one is actually, normally it's a gallery, and we have an exhibit. We've done solo exhibits, we've done group exhibits, and most recently what we've said it is where we divide it up into the 5 sections, and each artist can do their own. They're responsible for labeling, they do everything. Then we have a big opening reception and some food of some sort or something that we have, and we have a reception for them.
For individual veterans artists, or just the class that you're dealing with at the time?
It's for individual artists. So any artist, whether they participate here on a regular basis or not, any veteran artist, veteran or family member, can come in, and they get their own spot. They set up their own exhibit, they label it, and then they come in for the opening reception to talk to the people that come to see it. And today it's going to be magically transformed. Underneath is all chairs. We do have Reiki here. We have acupuncture, group acupuncture that we offer free for veterans.
So you're first an art center, but secondly an
Healing
alternative
arts. Healing art. So we've got the misters going, we do the essential oils, we do meditation and a lot of other holistic approaches. And
About how many people a month do you have come through here, different veterans? I know it's a lot of repeat, but count those.
okay, in a year it's about 800
800 people come through. Wow.
veterans,
That's
and
a
then
lot of
it's
veterans.
1,000 and some add another 300 on of family members.
Spouses, daughters,
Yeah.
sons.
And then we have on an average month, and I have to do this for my quarterly report, so I usually have to figure it out anyway.
Mhm.
But it's probably about 40 a month. Now, about 30 of those maybe repeat that keep coming back.
But
We
they're
have
still-
some that are here every day
Mhm.
and have been for years.
Yeah,
And we
that's
have
phenomenal.
others that might come once every 6 months. And
Just to touch base.
yeah,
and reconnect.
periodically. And then we have some that come in to check it all out or to try and buy some art or something. So I mean, and instructors.
And this is for your mascot?
That is, we do have certain kids' toys. Well, there's toy boxes under there too, but we do have the blocks and sand and everything for
Modeling
the
clay.
kids,
Yeah.
modeling clay and crayons and pencil crayons.
So the vet comes in and he has little kids.
He has kids, there's all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff for kids. We have temper paints, we have a lot of kids' craft supplies. and everything.
So that's, so not only does daddy get art or mommy gets art, but the tiny ones get art, and that keeps them out of mommy and daddy's
They
hair.
do, and we actually have one veteran that is why he comes in, is whenever he's got his little girl with him, he actually will bring her down here because she can be busy doing something while he's doing whatever he's working.
Oh, yeah, and that's, if somebody were setting up a Veterans Art Center like this in some other part of the country, those are things you have to consider, you know, because if you just start out with the word Veterans Art Center, is it a museum? Is it a therapy place? Is it a daycare center? Well, it can be all. And you discovered the way to kind of put this together to make a growing economic concern, which is a big deal. Yeah.
It is, and it's interesting on that note because a lot of times we had people thinking, oh, I thought it was just a gallery.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna talk about you.
Oh, you tell her she's going to buy a new camera. Well, what do you want to know?
Well, what are you doing here?
Well, I'm macrame in a chair. Going to be a
It's a Harley, it looks like.
Harley motorcycle chair,
Mm-hmm.
and
That big saw.
I sell them, and
You gotta
the
have,
goods
you gotta
goes
have
to
two
the
guys
company
to
here,
drive that blade.
and
Why two?
I don't know what all to tell you.
Well, now where do you sell these things?
That,
All over.
Craftsman
If someone's down in LA wants one,
pulley system.
they come up here for a visit or something, they have me send, I give their address and I send it to LA.
Yeah.
So you would do these all over the country then?
Yeah,
They have to be Harley, or can you do Indian or something
I
else?
can do, I gave her some,
Maple or something else.
Not any different from the ones back here.
Those he did initials. He goes through a lot of macrame twine, but he's being very humble. He also teaches
That's all right,
this.
as long as you don't
Okay.
miss
Some
So
of
every
my-
Friday morning he has a class where people can come in and learn how to do
feet.
this.
Yeah.
some of them right here.
Oh, wow. So we get a close-up of these. These are just various macrame patterns, and you probably have done a few of your own, because I don't know how else you would have got that
There's
Harley
your photo
thing.
album.
How long have you been doing this?
For about 45 years.
45 years, after, since Vietnam then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Came back and,
I,
The binding a little bit.
Got into it as my second wife.
Or it's
Oh,
called against that
no,
strike.
it was not yeah, it was my second
The
wife
belt pipe.
that had a friend that used to do these chairs,
Regarded to where you
and I had 3 to do.
It's all in one.
And I went over there and he said,
Yep.
I asked him what did it cost me to do these 3 chairs. He looked at me and he said, well, you're married to the best looking woman in town, so you go down to the hardware and get this and this and this and this, and I'll show you how. And I've been doing it ever since.
Wow.
It's enjoyment. It keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah. Well, it's in for a good cause. Are you down here every day then? Aren't
I'm
you?
down
He's
here
down
every
here
day.
every day.
Every
He's
day.
also one of the drivers of the Suburban. We have a transportation
So I
program.
got
We'll
a, I got a
shuttle
outside
veterans
door.
around, whether it's for medical appointments or groceries or the food bank.
And what's your name, sir?
Everyone calls me Yogi Bear.
Yogi Bear.
Yogi.
Okay. Well, thank you for your
No,
service
it's
and your art.
Steve.
You're welcome.
And it's
He's the one that's responsible for almost all of the equipment that's currently in our wood shop. And he's also been using it for about 6 years.
Everything.
Right now I'm in the milling process on the lake.
okay. That's so you're doing nice furniture with milling.
No, I'm
No,
more
he's
into
doing goblets.
wine tumblers.
Wine
Wine
tumblers.
tumblers. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a tube of 6, come up with an imagination on profile. You have to change them every now and again.
Yeah, I suppose you would. Yeah. You customize them for people that come in, or you just do what you
My
want?
own,
Yeah. Well, maybe if you got one set up.
I got
maybe
one
not.
set up and I started
Yeah. Well, let's
half done.
yeah. Well, let's go and walk, and
All right.
we'll see what you got.
Talk to Wally.
So you have, you might have a couple, 3 people a week in here coming to help you and work
It
with you. and
varies.
learn?
Some do, some don't. Some think they know more than you do, so they.
They fiddle
You know.
around. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
wait until he leaves.
But yeah, so yeah, but you teach. You're
No,
an instructor.
no.
not an
He-
instructor.
No.
He will teach one-on-one. If somebody comes in and wants to know how to use equipment, he will show them.
Yeah.
The thing of it is, if you want to know woodwork, first off, you have to instill it in your mind.
Yeah, you've got to want to do it.
You have to have the want. And then you dive in with your hands.
Yeah.
You
It
can
be
pick out
all-consuming.
an easy project and you go through doing that.
Yeah, maybe you can get as close as you stand here, and that'll be better.
Our glass studio, and we do both the fused and slumped glass as well as all the stained glass, and we have all of the equipment, tools, the saws, the grinders, molds for slumping, and in here we have the 4 of the glass kilns, the 2 little ones and then the 2 bigger ones. Now it's been slightly taken over with models, which are they're on their way to a different room, and this is all jewelry stuff that's going, that area where I showed you the jewelry would be going, that's all getting moved out there because
Is there any glass work product? Or product
up
in?
front, we had some up front, I don't.
And Wendy, what do we have here?
This is, we call it the banjolele, and one of our veterans built this, and he built it out of a cooking pot.
Wow.
Or a few cooking pots.
Wow. So he made it. He did the milling to mill the steel to make that part, and then
And all
he
of the-
he did the
Did the woodwork for the neck and
the neck and down, and then it's got a nice little sound too. And I'm no expert, but that is really impressive. Now we're standing in a room here that's got a lot of stuff in. Can you tell me the history of how this came together and what you got and who uses it?
when we first got the building, this was full of motor parts and everything else, and we one of the veterans just said it's like a garage, it would make a great music room, and so he cleaned it all out. We got the insulation for the walls all donated, he got the carpet donated, and then he had a few items donated, so we had a PA system and the drums and a couple of guitars. And then over time, we just kept getting items donated, and then we got a huge donation of recording equipment. So
this over here, is that what you're talking
that's
about?
part of it, but that's
Oh,
just,
there's a sound studio in here.
yeah,
isn't
we
there?
do have a recording studio in here as well.
Mhm.
And so he just picked through on what we would keep, and then he took the rest and just kept trading back and forth to get everything that he wanted in here. And then we have violins, we have saxophone, I think we've got a trombone, and we've even got 3 accordions, if anybody feels like using an accordion.
So if you have the guys get together, do you have small bands, or
We occasionally have some that'll come in and they'll have a jam session, and a lot of times it's just where somebody just comes in and they'll sit back here and they'll play the piano or play the guitar and just kind of sit in here by themselves. And then we've got others that come in and they want to record, they're going to make their latest greatest CD, and so it's kind of a variety of everything that goes on in here.
Now, where did you get this little critter?
That was donated, and it's actually a teaching guitar, so it has a button on the end here somewhere.
I'll probably pick it up now. Okay, now.
And
And so that will tell you
it'll
the keys.
show you the chord and stop start. I haven't played with it, so you can get your tempo going, and so
So if a
it'll show you
veteran
everything. And
wants to come in and learn how to play the guitar, you
Yeah,
have
they can
people
do
that
it.
will.
we do have
Yeah.
instructors that will come in and teach, and we've got we had mandolin lessons. Wally was actually teaching mandolin for a long time, and he would buy his students their own mandolin and everything else, but he wouldn't teach them if they didn't do their homework.
That
Then he
makes
would say,
sense.
no, don't come back until you've done your homework. So his class kind of fell apart.
Well, a really interesting thing along that line that you'd mentioned earlier was the way you set up classes. Because you said that you'd set up classes, you would announce there were therapy classes or something like that, and nobody would come.
That's
Yeah.
right. The
Yeah.
word therapy seemed to scare everybody off. As soon as we stopped calling it therapy and just come in for a mask making workshop or come in for a painting class or something, that it worked.
And the other,
Therapy was the...
yeah, therapy was bad on that one, but the other one was just how do you get these people grouped? And so what you did, and correct me here, is that you got basically a stack of resumes. Everybody who wanted to teach, you got. So you've got your repertoire of teachers, and then you give somebody a sheet where they can check off what they want classes in, and then you keep a record of
And
that.
we coordinate those, and we've got the website and a beautiful communication system. But this way we can hone in on the ones, if they want to take encaustic painting, then when the instructor has the workshop coming up, we can make sure they get a copy of it.
What about art makes it so special that you're saving lives by having people draw or do crafts?
There's studies out there, and I can't tell you who made them now, but there are studies out there where your cortisol, your stress hormone levels are lowered within 15 minutes of just working with clay or coloring or drawing. Those stress levels will lower. I mean, so many of them will say, well, when I'm sitting there doing art, it's like I just left the world for a few minutes.
My grandmother would tell me
And yeah,
And you had a very personal experience with this that was not military, but it tells a lot about how art will copy the reality that you have that you may not even see. Can you tell me about that?
I can. It's again the cathartic effect, because my own, I have PTSD, and my trauma was back when I was a year and a half old. So I had no conscious memory of it, but it was a subconscious memory. So it affected me throughout my whole life, and I mean it was like then it became repeated trauma and everything else because of the initial trauma that had gone untreated. And in my final year of university, it's the project I got on. I always call it my little white boots, because the trauma came out, And in my art, I didn't know, it was just like this obsession and I had to do it. But the trauma came out and I learned later about the initial trauma from my family that was over getting a pair of little white boots muddy, where I had been beaten into a coma.
You have an ability to inspire people. That's obvious. Because you got all these people, first they followed you in one direction, and then you had to change directions and go over here. And they followed you, and they started doing things and putting this whole thing together with you. Now, you've had some, how many veterans have you had come through because of all these people you've been helping?
Well, in total, I don't know, because it's been about 1,000 a year. I mean, some of them are not new every year, some of them are repeat, but I used to have a graph where I showed the board. This was in 2013, this was 2014, this is 2015, and I need a bigger building.
Yeah, I can see that. It's very
and
crowded.
it was just, and I mean, at that time, the back was still, a lot of it was still storage
And
everything.
this is in a city that's only 60,000 people, and you have all this activity going on in a city of 50,000, or 60,000, which is amazing. And then I know that you've had some, what I would call very incredible successes with veterans with PTSD. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
With the PTSD and probably the suicidal ones are where the really biggest successes, because that's the one. But in October, when the mortgage came due, and that was probably my first success, I will call it that. But we had a really strange 2 days or something where it snowed and it blizzarded and it was really weird, bizarre weather. And this one veteran had come in the door, and I had the benefits counselor from the VA was having appointments that day. So, I mean, everybody that came in the door, I'd just welcome them and give them a tour, show them everything we had here. And he came in that day, and he didn't see the counselor, and then he came in the next day. And the third day, which was while I was going through trying to decide if I was going to make that commitment and actually buy the building, that he came in and sat down in my office, and he broke out in tears, and he said, "You saved my life." And I was kind of, okay, not sure how I saved his life. And then he went on to tell me how he had closed up his apartment that day. He had kind of shut everything off, closed everything out, and he was on his way out of town and had his plan. And it had snowed, and he was hitchhiking, and he couldn't get a ride. And because we had this weird, strange blizzard had showed up, so I didn't save his life alone, but God help. And so he had to go to the bathroom. That is why he wandered through our door, as he came in here to use the bathroom. 3 days later, he was still here. He was in the back. He had some canvases out. He was painting, and he's telling me this whole story, and it's like, I'm dialing the bank. It's like, yep, I'll buy it.
What a
And
miraculous
how can I
story.
not?
Yeah, and you've got several of those stories.
And I have many.
Yeah.
We actually have about 20 that we know of that have either personally told us, or made comments on Facebook, or texted somebody,
So
or written comments on the back of a survey form.
At some level, you saved 20 lives.
20
Yeah,
lives.
20
and it's
lives.
like, I feel good about one.
Oh, yeah. Now, so art is a big part. You are a big part. The volunteers are a big part. The building is a big part. But physiologically, within your body, what about art makes it so special that you're saving lives by having people draw or do crafts?
There's studies out there, and I can't tell you who made them now, but there are studies out there where your cortisol, your stress hormone levels are lowered within 15 minutes of just working with clay or coloring or drawing, that those stress levels will lower.
Yeah, this is Wendy's autobiography, and this was done before you knew from the family.
It is. I mean, that's what I say, the cathartic effect, because the whole concept of getting the boots muddy, I through my art, I was able to get the boots muddy over and over and over again, and I cast them and I molded them and I made all these
And you
hundreds of
didn't
boots.
even know that
I
this
had
would
no
was.
conscious knowledge about any of this that had happened, but
You just wanted to make boots for some
emotionally
reason.
it was like, and I felt so good doing it. It was like I'm doing this over and over, and I felt so good about it.
And then this, when your sister told you, she told you and she says, "Do you remember your little white boots?"
Right. Because
And that was the trigger point, right there.
She also, yeah, I mean, and when she said that, it was just like this warm, funny feeling coming down. It's like, well, apparently.
There was a reality there that you'd never
But
seen.
up
but you
until
knew.
then, I did not know
Yeah.
what had caused my
Yeah.
initial trauma and the PTSD. And it was because it was buried, and I wasn't old enough to remember. But it came out through the catharsis of doing the art.
And this has been a wonderful interview. And I'm Bob Krause, president of the Veterans National Recovery Center, and you've heard from Wendy Hoffman, Operation Revamp, at the Veterans Arts Center at Grand Junction, Colorado. The wonderful things she's done with her volunteers to set up the program and how they have helped veterans and saved veterans' lives.